Today we are going to do Life in the UK Test 4, which is required for ILR and British Citizenship applications. I'm sorry, I have been very busy with other stuff, so I couldn't make any video and upload any video during this time, but thank you very much for continually watching my channel and keeping in touch with me through text messages and messages on the channel. Some people have asked me for my telephone number, so my telephone number is already there. If you go to the about section of my channel, if you want to speak to me regarding any issues, so I would definitely love to help you. So today we are doing Life in the UK Test 4, which is required for ILR and British citizenship. As we have not been able to talk about these tests for some time, so that's why I'm just trying to revise these things, refresh these things. So there are 24 questions in the tests. So this is obviously for those people who have just joined us. If you haven't seen my channel, I have already uploaded 3 tests, English and Urdu, so you can have a look at those. So in this test there are 24 questions. You have to answer 18 of them correct to pass the test, and the total time for the test is 45 minutes, which is quite enough time for 24 questions. So let us start today's test and see what questions we have. So the question number 1 is, how many times did Sir Jackie Stewart win the Formula 1 championship? You know, Formula 1 championship, it's a racing car competition, and Jackie Stewart is one of the top names. He won the championship for 3 times. Now, how do you remember that? As you know already, that I just make some connections between the questions and the answers just to remember them. It's not an easy thing sometimes to remember these questions, but let us do some question. They sometimes appear to be silly, but don't worry about that. All's well that ends well. That's what Shakespeare said. So we have to make some connections. So look at this. This guy's name has 3 parts. Sir Jackie Stewart, and he won the championship for 3 times. So this is just to remember things. I mean, there is no such formula written in any books or stuff. So just to make our lives easy. So that was the first question. Number 2, who is the heir to the throne? Now, heir to the throne is the person who is the eldest child of the monarch, queen or the king. So as we see that Queen Elizabeth's eldest son is Prince Charles, so he is the heir to the throne. Remember, Prince Harry, Prince Philip and Prince William, they are not heirs. Prince Harry and William, they are grandchildren of the Queen, so they cannot become the king. Prince Philip, who was actually the husband of the Queen, he is dead, so he cannot become the king. So it is Prince Charles then. What is the capital of Northern Ireland? This is a very important question. You will definitely have one of these questions either about Northern Ireland or Wales or Scotland. So the capital of Northern Ireland is Belfast. The capital of Wales is Cardiff. London is the capital of the UK, or you could say England, and Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland. So you should know all of these things, all of these places, because sometimes the question could be, what is the capital of Scotland, or what is the capital of Wales? Okay, so the next question is, how long does Diwali normally last for? It's a festival of lights, it is sometimes called. People from India and Asia, they know about this, but most people who are from other parts of the world, they don't know. So it is a 5 days celebration. It's a 5 days festival. So the correct answer is 5 days. Next, where was William Shakespeare born? William Shakespeare is obviously a very popular name. dramatist, a poet. So he was born in Stratford upon Avon. Now look at this. Shakespeare's name start with S. Stratford starts with S. So this is how we make a connection. And one more thing, because Shakespeare is a very important personality, so his date of birth sometimes and place of birth sometimes, that can come in the questions. Other than that, there's only one person, Sir Winston Churchill, whose date of birth can come, but no other date of birth or date of death will be asked in your exam. Okay, so forget about those dates. Date of deaths, date of births, except for two people, William Shakespeare and Winston Churchill. So that is one thing which is settled. Now we move on to the next question, which is question number 6. Who led the Scottish army during the Battle of Bannockburn? So we have got King Alfred the Great, Robert the Bruce, Edward the Fast, and William the Conqueror. Okay, the right answer is Robert the Bruce. Okay, he was Scottish king. Now, how do you remember that? Battle of Bannockburn was a battle between the English and the Scottish armies. Okay, so battle starts with B, Bannockburn starts with B, Bruce starts with B, so you could say B, 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 or Bruce, Battle, Bannockburn, or Battle of Bannockburn, Bruce, something like that. So that will remind you who the actual person was who led the the Scottish army. Okay, so it's a series of B's. Next. What was the most important principle of the Enlightenment? Enlightenment, remember, was a movement in which there were more freedom regarding everything in society, in terms of rules and regulations that regulate marriages, religion, political views, and other stuff. Okay, so whenever you think about or come across the word enlightenment, remember there is lights in it. Okay, so light means more freedom, more liberty. So the answer is freedom of religion and political views. Okay, now principles of enlightenment, principle starts with P and political starts with P. Okay, so enlightenment is light, so you are free from darkness. Okay, so the word freedom should be your key word. If you forget that, then the principles of enlightenment and political views should be matched. PP, that's how you remember them. Next. When did Protestant ideas begin to spread? Now, Protestant ideas begin to spread in the 16th century. So there's a brief history. When 1534, King Henry VIII broke away from the Church of Rome, which was Roman Catholic Church. So these are two main divisions of Christianity, or you could say main denominations. One is Roman Catholic and one is Protestant. Okay, so the Protestant ideas begin to spread in the 16th century. When the date reads 1534, it is actually the 16th century. So if you remember the date 1534, when the Church of England was established, then that's easy for you to remember that it was the 16th century. Okay. Question number 9 says, which of the events in the landing of Allied forces in Normandy? So which of these events is the landing of Allied forces? This is about World War. So when Britain and its allies landed in Normandy, Normandy is in northern France, against obviously Germany or the Hitler forces of Hitler. So the correct answer is D-Day. Okay, how do you remember that? Normandy. Okay, Normandy ends in D and the answer begins with D sound. So Normandy, D-Day. So okay, that's how you remember that. Next. When was the Scottish Parliament established? This is an important question. Sometimes you will have a question about when was the Welsh Parliament established. Okay, so the questions The answer to this question is 1999. We don't have any technique for that. You just excuse me, you just need to remember that. Next question is, how many Russian and Polish Jews came to Britain between 1870 and 1914? Now this is a very important question, I can tell you, and this question can be asked in 3 different ways. I will explain it to you. The correct answer is 120,000 Jews came to Britain between 1870 and 1914. Now sometimes the question is like that. Between 1870 and 1914, how 120,000 Jews came from which 2 countries? And then you will have the name of 4 countries, so you have to choose Russia and Poland. Sometimes the question is 120,000 Russian and Polish Jews came to Britain between which ages, okay, or what time? Okay, so then you will have a series of different years, okay, span of different years. So you have to then choose 1870 to 1914. So the most important information is that Jews came from Russia and Poland, and they came between these times, and the third one is here. So this one, and this one. If you remember that, the question can come any way and you will answer it correct. Next. When was the Giant Causeway formed? Giant Causeway is a structure it's a volcanic structure actually, in Northern Ireland, and it was formed 50 million years ago. Okay, a long time ago actually. Next question. When did the first farmers arrive in Britain? These are some of the questions where you don't have any techniques to remember, just memory actually. So 6,000 years ago farmers came to Britain, yeah, from southern, north, eastern Europe actually, yes. Next, where did the canal builders come from in the Middle Ages? The canal builders in the UK come from Holland. That is the country. Okay, now there is a technique to remember that. Okay, so this is the canal. I think I just make it. Okay, so this is water flowing in the canal. So canal is more like a hole in the ground, in the land, hole in the land where you make it, dig it, and then the water flows here. Okay, so it's just a very, I mean, apparently it looks like silly idea, but that's how you remember it, because there are other people. Glass workers came from another country, canal builders came from another country, weavers came from another country. So in this case, this is Holland. Okay, hall is hole. Okay, the first part could be hole in the land. Okay, so hole in the land becomes Holland. So people who make holes or canals in the land came from Holland. I think you understand me. Next question. How many years did Mary, the Queen of Scots, spend in prison? Mary, the Queen of Scots, was Elizabeth I's cousin, and she was imprisoned by Elizabeth for 20 years, and at the end of 20 years she was executed. Okay, so that's the right answer. Next question. Which general remains a controversial figure in Ireland? Now there are 4 names. Oliver Cromwell is the correct option. When Oliver Cromwell was sent to Ireland to establish peace, he did it with so ruthless cruelty that he killed thousands and thousands of people. So that's why Oliver Cromwell is not liked by Irish people even today. How do you find that this is the correct answer? Cromwell starts with a C and controversial starts with a C. Now Cook also starts with C, but controversial ends in L and Cromwell ends in L. So you have somebody who is controversial, who is Cromwell, and that's the right option. That's how you make it. Okay, next question. When did the Romans successfully invade Britain? The correct answer is AD 43. Okay. Question number 18. Which castles are in the use to this day? Now, you should know that the oldest castle in use is Windsor. Okay, so any combination which has Windsor in its name would be the right answer, because Windsor is the oldest living castle, and Edinburgh is also in use. Now, you have to look for Windsor, which is the second home of the Queen. Queen is either in Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle. So that these two castles are old castles which are still in use. So the right option is this one, any option with Windsor in its name. Next, what is an example of the Middle Ages architecture? Right, so first of all, you understand what Middle Ages are. Middle Ages are between 500 and 1500, or sometimes people call it between 10 means 1000 and 1500. That is the Middle Ages time, or simple words, it is an old time. Okay, now London Eye is a new development. Okay, the O2 arena could not be made in Middle Ages. Okay, so this is not the example of Middle Ages. Now there are two options, the White Tower in the Tower of London and the Queen's House in Greenwich. So Queen's House is also not too old, so it is a 20th century structure. So we have only one option, which is the White Tower in the Tower of London, because this was built by William the Conqueror, and that was the Middle Ages. Okay, so the right option is this one. Next, what tells us about how people lived just after the Norman Conquest? Okay, when William the Conqueror came here, invaded in 1066, after he established peace, he wanted to know about the country, about the people, and about their properties and what they are doing. So he asked his people, courtiers or officials, to go out and collect details of the people, their names, their families, their properties, their earnings, all that stuff, and write that in a book called the Domesday Book. So this is the book which tells us about everything regarding the people and the age. So that's the right option. Next, which tribes invaded Britain after the Romans had left? So the simple answer is the Jutes and the Anglo-Saxons. So these were the tribes who came after Romans. Okay, the next question is, what did the Magna Carta do? Magna Carta means the Great Charter or the Great Agreement. So remember one thing, this is a very, very important bit in history. It's around 1215. Before that, kings were extremely powerful. They would execute anybody, they would send anybody to prison, they would excommunicate, so many bad things. Okay, the parliament then decided that the king has so much power and they sometimes misuse it. So that's why they forced King John to sign an agreement, and that agreement meant that the king would give his powers to the parliament. Okay, so obviously some powers remained with the king, but most of his powers went to the parliament. So that agreement is known as Magna Carta, and it restricted king's power. Restrict means to make it less. Okay, next, who was the Iron Duke that defeated the Emperor Napoleon? Okay, so it is the right option, Wellington, Duke of Wellington, who became the Prime Minister later on. He was the person who defeated Napoleon Bonaparte, and he was also known as Iron Duke because he was emotionless. There were no emotions on his face. Okay. Next, when did the development of a free press happen? The development of a free press happened in 1695. That was the time when anybody was allowed to publish their newspaper, launch their newspaper, and whatever they wanted to write in the newspaper, they could do that without the influence of the government. So that was the time. So that is the right option. Okay, I hope you understand that. You need practice. Okay, some questions appear to be very difficult, but with continuous practice you will definitely be able to do that. And watch these videos, do online practice. I mean, these videos obviously cannot teach you each and everything. uh, I'm just giving you some principles how to link uh, answers, how to choose the right answer by just making some sometimes very odd, sometimes very strange links between the questions and the answers, and that's how you remember those things. If you have any question, do ask me. I'll try to help you. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye.